Joining us now on the Four Polls podcast, we've got Robert Morris University linebacker Keon Freeman in the house. Check him out on Twitter at Keon Freeman _. He's going to be talking to us about his college football experience and prep for the NFL draft. Keon, how's it going? Thanks so much for hopping on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's going well.
All right, so let's just get right into this thing because we are a Bears podcast, right? We pretty much talk about the Bears 24/7, 365. I mean, you played college football at a few different places, right? You were at Charlestown University of Charleston, right? Then Youngstown State. Now you're at Robert Morris University. I mean, what made all three schools such great fits for you? Because you were the guy that kind of contributed in a lot of different places.
Yes, sir. First of all, I feel like all three spots believed in me at first. They believed in what I could bring to the team, and they allowed me to be a leader early. Like when I was at the University of Charleston, I pretty much started my first year, and they wanted me to be a leader right away. And I loved that job. At first, I was shying away from it because I didn't believe in myself that an 18-year-old can help lead a defense, on and off the field. But that was the role that they needed. And as soon as I stepped in, I loved it ever since. So I think every spot has allowed me to play the game the way I like to play it. And they allowed me to be the leader on and off the field.
What were those conversations like in terms of, hey, you're coming into college football as a 18-year-old. There are going to be guys that have definitely been here 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, but we want you to kind of step up and be the guy that takes the reins. I mean, take us inside some of the conversations with those coaches.
Yeah, I mean, it started off early. Like, freshmen have to lift early in the morning. So my coach would just keep me after before class and just basically sit down and be like, I need you to step up. I know you're just getting accustomed to college. I know you're going to be playing. Like I first played outside linebacker first at University of Charleston on the edge. And then later, the second year, I got moved to Mike. But at first, he just sat me down and he was just like, but we would like for you to step up in this role. And like I said, at first, it was very difficult for me just because I knew I was young. I knew I didn't know a lot as much as the other linebackers in our room, being in college just for my first year. But months after I got accustomed to it, I seen like the benefits of being a leader. I seen the benefits of connecting with my teammates and being that guy on and off the field.
And that's really good stuff, by the way. I mean, does it feel like to this day, there's a lot of stuff you learn at the age of 18, 19 years old, kind of having to basically be the guy that had to step up and lead, even in situations you didn't want to? I mean, there's got to be a lot of lessons that you learned there. And then at that point that are going to stick with you forever, right?
Yes, sir. Like, just being held accountable so early. Like I know a lot of freshmen, they get to like slack off. Maybe they be able to slack off that first year. They get the red shirt. The coaches are not on them so much. But for me, I found out what college was early. You know what I mean? Like the pressures of being ready for a game plan, being ready for the new plays. I remember in college, just getting ready for our plays was difficult. You know what I mean? Coming from a high school that wasn't, as schematic as it was. But I think really just being accountable that was one of the characteristics I really will keep for the rest of my life. Just being accountable.
All right. So you mentioned learning the plays was crazy. And again, like I coach high school football as well. So like I understand it, in terms of like there's certain things that you learn in high school, whether you're a player or a coach. It's so interesting that it's like you remember those things, they're never going to leave you. And then you get to the college and the NFL level and you're like, oh my God, there are a million different sort of plays here that I have to learn. And the high school model of like, hey, we've got 4 formations, but you can run the same basically 10 plays out of these 4 different formations with the same route concepts and the same blitzes and the same stunts and all that. Like that idea goes out the window. So take us inside what it was like for you to have to learn at such a young age, not only how to command a defense, but then learn those plays as well to make sure that the other 10 guys around you knew what they were doing.
Yes, I was never a guy that was afraid to ask for help. So it would be other linebackers that knew how important I could be for this defense if I knew the plays, if I knew how to communicate on the field. So I got a lot of guidance from older players, whether I'm just going to have to go meet with them, after practice. I'm a visual guy, so I have to write it down, draw it. You know what I mean? It's to understand the plays. But I think my freshman year, the most difficult part is third down defense. Like that's when things can get tricky, and defensive coordinators can start to schematic some crazy stuff. So once I got down that third down, base down was always easy for me. But that third down, certain the calls and stuff. Like I remember Fridays, every game night, I will have to. We had like the script, like our defensive game script, and I would have to read each play off to in front of everybody, and while we go over plays. So just those type of things, I just had to really just write it down. I'm a write it down guy. Nothing is real for me unless I write it down.
Yeah, and part of learning that third down defense to me is also just like you're not just studying your stuff, right? Like you're studying what the offense is going to do in that specific down and distance situation, but then in the greater context of things, like what is the offense going to do when it's 3rd and 2 with 2 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and they're down by 3 points versus, hey, they are down by a touchdown right now. It's the first quarter and all of a sudden it's 3rd and 8. And it's like as a defensive guy, you have to be able to, I think, switch gears so quickly because you can never really sit there and sort of think of the same stuff over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. That's another part of it, just picking up on offenses schemes and their tendency. But once you study it, like I think it's more simple because each week we just focus on one team, one agenda. So basically, after I would say probably by Wednesday, I know what they're going to do by Wednesday.
Yeah, and a lot of that I'm sure came down to film study and just prep during the week. But what was a week during the season for you like in terms of, weight room classes? You had pre-practice meetings, those post-practice meetings, and there's obviously the individual portion at night that I don't think anyone talks about, but we all experience it being like coaches and having been players ourselves in terms of like you're probably sitting there at 8 o'clock at night at your desk with a bowl of Chipotle or something and watching film, right? Because you had a crazy day.
Yes. For me, I'm going to talk about this last year. It was more football based just because I had all my classes online as being a grad student. So basically I would lift at like 10 or 11 o'clock, get a lift in with the guys. And then after go get some lunch. And then after that, I would go straight to the meetings, go meet with my coach. Coach Plungus, he likes to, at our Robert Morris, our DC and our linebacker coach, he liked to meet before our meetings, just to introduce some things he's thinking, some plays, some schemes he's thinking that of doing. So I would do that, and then we'll have our team meeting. Then we'll have our individual meeting where we're basically just going over what he just taught me, but just in front of the other linebackers and of that sort. And then we'll have practice around like 3:15. Get done around 5:15. Then I'll usually stay back, get in the cold tub. Go get some food, and that's pretty much my night for after that. I'll go home, watch film, but that's my night, really. That was my night this past season.
What would you grab for lunch and dinner? I mean, was it the same thing every day from like the cafeteria, or was it something completely different?
Just depend. If I had more time, I definitely would go off campus to get some food. But if my time was crunched, I would definitely just go to the caf, or we had something called Yorktown too at Robert Morris. It was like a little bit off campus, but it was still cafeteria food. But yeah, it just depends on the day.
So do you have like a game day, I guess, like, or like a pregame meal or something, or like take us through that, or did you switch it up week to week based on like this is what I feel like eating, this is what I'm gonna have before the game?
Really, I really didn't have any. I just ate whatever they gave us really before the game. I'm not a big eater before the game, honestly, just because my mind is so focused on what's about to happen. You know what I mean? I'm a what's next type of guy. So I was just so focused on the game, and I got my music on. Like I really can't eat during game day. And I like to take care of my body on game day. So I have to spend time in the tubs, in the boots, stretching, get in the weight room like that. I like to move around and during the game day, not really eat as much.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. See, you're kind of the opposite of me because now it's like that I coach. I'm like, I need to have some sort of, game day meal. And I'm going to be the first to admit, like, I will change it up based on whatever it is. But I mean, I have to ask you, when you play linebacker, like, you have to have a special mindset because it's like you are not just the guy that is, like I mentioned a moment ago, responsible for just yourself. You're basically coordinating what all other 10 guys on the defense are doing. And if the defense does real well, everyone points to you as being the guy. If the defense doesn't do so well, then everyone's probably like, what is the guy with the green dot on the back of his helmet doing? But how about you personally? I mean, talk about the mental side of a game. I know I've had really good plays just watching some of your film. Then there's also some plays that any football player is always going to be like, hey, I would love to have that back. But how do you, bounce back from a bad play and then just keep going after a good one?
So my mindset, during the game is basically just trying to stay level headed. I'm a guy that shows a lot of emotion. So after I make a big play, I'm, pounding my chest, I'm yelling, I'm excited. But for me, being a leader, you definitely have to have you have to be like consistent. Like your emotions, the way you approach the game has to be consistent because everybody's looking at you. You know what I mean? Like after a touchdown, after a big play, like they're looking at you. How is 52 going to respond to this? Like, is he going to pout? Is he going to point fingers? Or is he cheering people on? And for me, after a big play or after a play, I wish I got back. I really just I have to put my head up and look for the next play just because I'm that guy on the field that everybody's looking for, to see how he's going to respond and react. So for me, I just try to keep it level headed. It's kind of hard because I am that guy that will sometimes think about the play before that I wish I had got back or a scheme that got us on defense and they scored on. So I do still think about that a little bit. But this year, my coaches and the players really helped me just overcome that, not being so ignorant to the fact that I have to be ready for the next play and I have to be consistently on the same level field emotionally while I'm out there.
Yeah, and it really does to me kind of come down to just how you continue to respond. But you mentioned number 52. I mean, is there a reason that you wore number 52? Like, was that your number all throughout high school? Is there like some sort of significance that 52 sort of ran in the family or something? Or were you just randomly assigned that number?
Oh no, no, no! I chose that number. I've been wearing 52 since middle school. Ray Lewis is my guy. He was a guy that I looked up to back then when I first started playing linebacker. He just the way how he commands and leads out there and how he plays, man. He plays violently. That's how I play the game. So definitely Ray Lewis. And 5 + 2 = 7. I'm a big religious guy, so Jesus, God is favorite number is 7. So those are the two reasons why I wear 52.
That makes a lot of sense. See, for me being a Chicago guy, I mean, when I think 52, my mind sort of automatically goes to Khalil Mack, who's not here anymore, but was always fun, interacting with him. And then for some reason, totally forgot that Ray Lewis wore 52. But I guess being a Ohio guy, you sort of saw a lot of the Ravens sort of play growing up because, like, the Ravens and the Browns and Bengals are obviously in the same division, but like getting into what you're up to now, right? In terms of the draft, I mean, what's the daily routine like? Where are you training at? How's all that prep sort of going?
It's going well. I got one more week up here. My pro day's March 21st, but I'm here at Gracetti's Performance working out with Terry. I've been here since January 26th, and it's going well, man. My group is at 10:30. So we'll spend 3 hours a day just training. The first hour is usually mobility. Then after that, we do a lot of change of direction work during the week, sprint work, sprint mechanics, and then lifting. So that's really my days up here, just training 3 hours a day, and then coming back, talking to my agent, seeing ways we can get my name out there, talking to scouts, that deal. I'm at a hotel right now, so you know what I mean. Like we on the grind right now, so that's the life I'm living right now.
Is it? I mean, I'm sure that the grind has to be fun, right? Because yeah, I mean, it's so interesting how like when you go from like being a student athlete to having to focus on school plus football. Now it's just like you are basically living the life that you've always wanted to live, where it's like, yes, this is the part of my life now where all I have to do is worry about football. There's like no due dates from schools, there's no emails from professors, there's none of that. It's just like full steam ahead. It's football 24/7.
Yes, I love it, man. I've been waiting for so long, so long. I don't miss an email. I don't miss reading emails and none of that. You know what I mean? But yeah, this is the life I chose. I love it. The game, the football has just brought so much to my life, and I want to continue for a long time.
So, I mean, we've kind of gotten into this one, but I'm curious to know, like, what do you think the strengths of you as a player are? Give me a couple of them, because you definitely have the ability from everything I've kind of seen, and I've watched some RMU games over the last couple of years, in terms of just being able to be the guy that's going to be the most physical player out there on the football field.
Mm-hmm. Some strengths that I have. One, I'm a great leader. Being a Mike linebacker, being a middle linebacker. I'm a guy that everybody wants to be around. Secondly, like my play, like I'm very physical. You know what I mean? I believe in run stopping. I believe to win the game, you have to stop the run at first. I know how air rated and how the league is going now. A lot of people like to distract, getting sacks and all that stuff, but you can't get sacks. You can't do none of that unless you stop the run. So I'm a great run stopper. I'm very smart out there. You're not going to trick me, with the same play or the same scheme. Like, I pick up on things very, very quickly. Secondly, I just command. I'm a general out there. You know what I mean? Like, I command. I earn my respect out there, and I'm an ultimate competitor. I think that's my number one thing. Like, I have the ultimate confidence every time I'm out there that I believe I'm the best player out there, no matter who I'm playing against, no matter who's on my team, who's not on my team. Like, I have the utmost belief in who I am and who I am as a player.
So you had mentioned that you started out college being an outside linebacker. I mean, what kind of prompted the switch into middle linebacker? Was that a choice you made yourself, or was that the coaches basically coming to you and saying, hey, so we think you're ready for this opportunity, we're going to move you inside to Mike?
It was the second option, what you said. My coach, he knew I could lead the defense, being a Mike linebacker. And he had trust in me, just being a freshman, being able to. As soon as I came in, I led the team in sacks. The 4 or 5 games I started, so he knew what I could be. It was just me, just accepting that role. You know what I mean? Just accepting that, and it was really just the coaches, really.
Well, so did you play pass rusher in high school as well? So linebacker was completely foreign to you, or was this something where it was like they kind of recruited you as a outside linebacker, but they knew that you could kick inside if needed?
No, I was a Mike. I was a Mike in high school all the way, but I just showed, like, during camp that I could blitz very well. I could bend very well, and I'm a little shorter on the edge, so I got underneath tackles very well. So I was just in camp, really. It just proved that I could play outside, and he just moved me outside. And it wasn't as, like, on our scheme, it was called the sandbacker. It really wasn't much thinking. It was really just the best athlete really just plays right there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense, because it's linebacker play is so interesting, because to me, like, I look at it and I'm like, depending on the type of front you have, that's ultimately going to determine what the linebackers do, right? And if you have a 4-man front, then it's like every single gap is accounted for. So now the linebackers are dropping more into coverage. But if you have a 3-man front, now you're only rushing 3, so there's going to be that Mike that has to still roam the middle of the field. But now you're going to have 2 guys that are possibly flying off the edge as your kind of stand-up pass rushers. But speaking of that, right, the 3-4, the 4-3, I mean, as a linebacker, what is your communication process like when it comes to the defensive line? Because if the D-line's not on the same page and those guys aren't plugging their gaps properly, odds are that you as the linebacker can't probably do your job the right way. So you have to make sure that it's like, if you guys are doing a gap blitz, for example, and it's an a gap blitz for the Mike, then that defensive tackle better go B gap. Otherwise, you're going to get 2 guys that end up in the same gap, and then a big play happens.
Yep, you got that right on. But my communication is basically just making sure they get the call. You know what I mean? I was taught early, do not say nothing to the back end unless that front end is right and they're ready to go. So for me, if we have like a blitz like that, I will make sure I communicate to him. If he's a guy that's not really can hear it, if he needs me to go tap him on his side and be, let him know which way he got to go, I will definitely do that. I am not quiet at all. Like, I don't care if they know. I want my D lineman. I want everybody to be on the same page.
That definitely makes sense. I mean, and the way I described it, I'll be honest with you, like my first few years coaching high school football, I had to coach pretty much safeties, linebackers, and then D line. But it's so interesting because it's like you never really gain this appreciation for what the guys in front of you are doing on defense until you start to learn, the role of the defensive line plus the linebackers in general. But I mean, I have to ask you, right? So there's a lot of different fronts out there, right? In defensive schemes. You've got your 3-4, your 4-3. The 4-2-5 is obviously the one that is taking over the league right now. And then at some of these lower levels, the 3-3 stack is something that a lot of teams have started to implement. But of any major defensive scheme, I mean, which one do you feel like you fit best in, and then why?
To be honest, all of them, but my preferred one is the 4-3. I think the 4-3 is amazing. Like you in the four down, your gaps are accounted for. It's not too much thinking. You know what I mean? Like if I get a sway back or a counter back, I know I have to go over there. You know what I mean? But besides that, you line up and that's your gap. But I would say 4-3, 4-3-4, and then 4-2-5. Those are my favorite. I don't really like the odd at Charleston. We had odd front, and it was I didn't like it at all because your responsibility could change pre-snap so fast. Being the A gap, you have the A or B gap or the C to B gap. You know what I mean? So for me, it's definitely the 4-3. I think I play best at 4-3.
Yeah, the 3-4, I will say the tough part about it is unless it is a true 3-4 cover 2 defense, where you've got your two safeties on the back end. I mean, the front 7 has to be the fastest set of athletes out there on the field. And if you don't have that speed, I mean, it is so easy to go ahead and just get cooked in terms of any play can happen at any moment. But, shifting the conversation over here to getting ready to get to the NFL. I mean, when teams bring you into the building, right? What specifically are they getting from you as a person and then as a player?
As a person, man, they're getting a kind, respectful person, a guy they do not have to worry about hearing any noise or making any trouble, in the locker room or on the field. Just a great guy. And then on the field, ultimate competitor, a guy that believes he's the best, no matter what's going on, no matter, you know what I'm saying, no matter what the situation is. I truly feel like I'm the best, and I want to prove that. You know what I mean? I have that chip on my shoulder coming from a small school. I already know how it's going to be, so I'm just ready to prove everybody wrong and prove myself right.
What would proving everyone wrong to you look like? I mean, I know that's kind of a loaded question. I put you on the spot there, but I can tell by the smile on your face, you're like, oh, this is a question I've never really had to think about. Because everyone's going to talk about, I want to prove someone wrong, but like, what does that look like to you?
For me, making a team, being a guy that can make some plays on special team, being a contributor right away. You know what I mean? Like making a team, staying on a team. Not having to bounce so much, team to team, just really proving my wealth to every organization I am in, I come in contact with.
Yeah, that is some really good stuff there because it's like football is this sport where things change so fast that it kind of gets to a point where you're like, if you don't have that resilient mindset and you don't keep going, then it becomes very easy to get lost in the possibilities of what could have been instead of just staying in your lane and moving straight forward. But I mean, like I said, when we were talking before the show, we're a Bears show, we're a Bears podcast, we're a Bears media outlet. I mean, what do you know about the franchise? And then what do you know about the city of Chicago? Have you ever been here?
I've been there one time, and I remember I was like in 7th grade, and I took a picture in front of the George statue. We were there for like 10 minutes, then we left. It was really windy. But I know y'all have had a great history of linebackers, from Urlacher to Roquan. Those were my favorite to watch too. But I know the Bears culture is kind of like the Ravens culture in the sense that defense is still important. You know what I mean, to the Bears and to the organization, to the fans. So for me, I know Bears is the same thing I believe in. I believe in defense wins championships. I don't care how fancy offenses get. Of course, you need a quarterback nowadays, but I still believe if your defense can hold up, you'll do well in the league.
Does it get kind of like, do you think of, okay, well, this is how it's going to be for me if I do end up in a city that, I'm maybe not so familiar with, right? Because like you being a Ohio guy, I'm sure you're plenty familiar with like Cincinnati and then Cleveland, but then Chicago's only a couple hours away. And so for you, does it get kind of exciting thinking of like, it'd be really cool to end up playing in a place where I never really thought that I would end up?
For sure, I definitely want to, travel the world and see where it's a great fit for me. Honestly, any team that gives me the opportunity, I'm going to be grateful, and I'll be ready to go.
Yeah, those are some it's interesting, right? Because I think like when people think of Chicago, obviously the trend is always, and I always ask that question, like, what do you know about the city of Chicago? And I always get back like, oh, well, I know that linebackers are really good. The defense is really good as well. And it'd be cool to play there. But um, outside of just the city of Chicago, I know you mentioned Roquan Smith, you mentioned Brian Urlacher. Did you have a favorite player that you looked up to when growing up beyond like Urlacher, Roquan Smith, or Ray Lewis?
For the Bears organization.
Yeah, the Bears organization, and then just in general.
Of course. Can I give you a couple? Is
Yeah,
that
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I'm a nerd with this football stuff. But Ray Lewis, Brian Dawkins. I love watching Fred Warner. He's a monster. I love watching Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly was a monster. Um, I'm trying to think who else I love watching. Oh, for me, Devin Hester as a kid. Oh my gosh, he was electric. He was crazy. I'm gonna give you one more. Bobby Wagner for sure. Bobby Wagner is a Hall of Famer, legit first ballot Hall of Famer in my eyes.
Yeah, Bobby Wagner, definitely one of the more fun players to sort of watch. Same thing with Devin Hester. Devin Hester is probably the one I want to say like non-offensive or defensive guy that a lot of people that even aren't Bears, they may not even be Bears fans, but they just seem to have this, unparalleled sense of love for Devin Hester. But I'm going to put you on the spot here. We got a couple more questions to go, but you've obviously been playing football for a long time, right? 52 is kind of your number. And I mean, I hope that you end up in a place where you get to keep 52 and you don't have to like buy it off one of the vets in the room or something. But I have to know, do you have a favorite football memory from either high school or college that you look at and you're like, I randomly reminisce on this memory, random times throughout the day, and I'm always going to tell this certain story?
Um, Man, that's a good question. I think the game we had this year against LIU, it was a game that we were going. It was a shootout, and they were driving. It was like a long drive, like a 14, 15 play drive. And then we had them at the red zone, and I made like 3 plays back to back. In the red zone, tired, exhausted, but end up helping to win the game. I think that LIU game for me is something. It just for me, it just proved myself right that I had a great year and I am worthy for the next level and worthy for everything that God's gonna give for me or bless me in the near future. So I would say the whole LIU game, it was a great game for me. It was just like a coming out game for me, just to prove that was my second time winning Defensive Player of the Week in my conference, but that was definitely the game I constantly reminisce on because it was a game that my team needed me, and I showed up for them for sure.
Last one for me here, but what should Bears fans know about who you are as a person, right? Like, what are you into when you're not in the film room or the weight room and focused on football? What are some things you like to do outside of football? And then, how do you feel like the hobbies that you have outside of football have kind of translated to who you are as a football player?
Um, Outside of football, I'm a family guy. I love chilling with family and friends. Um, I don't. I'm not a big going out person. I rather chill with my family, watch some shows, watch some movies, joke with them, have fun. But I think just living a humble lifestyle and disciplined lifestyle is definitely transition to how I am on the field. I'm very humble. I'm a calculated guy, but I still like to have fun. I still like to joke around and still be the life of the party for everybody. But I think it's the same for me on the field. Just how I am, just a smiling guy, laughing guy, and just enjoying life, honestly.
So I forgot to ask you, but you had mentioned your pro days coming up March 20th.
Yes, sir.
Where's the pro day going to be at?
It's March 21st, and it's going to be at YSU, my alma mater, where I graduated.
Nice, nice. That is definitely going to be interesting. I mean, I'm sure, handful of teams will be there. But before we get out of here, where can people follow you on Twitter and Instagram and just sort of keep up with your journey over the next couple months here?
On Twitter, like he says, Keon Freeman, and then underscore, and then on Instagram is Kebo KEE underscore BOO 52, and those are my two social media outlets.
This has been awesome. Keep in touch. Best of luck to you. If there's anything we can ever do for you at Bear Report, don't hesitate to reach out. You know where to go ahead and find me. And really looking forward to following you and your journey over the next couple of months here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll definitely keep in contact.